I believe it's been a while since Alex Jones has been in the show Secular Talk. And that's a shame. That's a shame. I was one of few people who said, you know what? Maybe you keep him up on YouTube, you keep him up in all these different places. I mean, I get it for those specific videos that, whatever, mentioned something about Sandy Hook and the families were involved and it led to harassment. Like, I get it. Are there some specific videos that there was a case to be removed because it was abusive or direct threats of violence? Sure. But overall, I was like, you should probably keep him up because this is a slippery slope. And also, a lot of the stuff he says is just standard run-of-the-mill dumb conservative stuff, and it makes no sense to pull him up based on that standard because you have to pull Steven Crowder and Ben Shapiro and everybody else too, and I just don't agree with deplatforming and censorship and things of that nature. So he hasn't made it to our show in a while, but now he's in the show. I believe it was the Daily Beast that leaked this story, maybe in conjunction with the Southern Poverty Law Center. But in 2019, Alex Jones was doing an interview, and he seems like he's on something here. I don't know if it's alcohol or cocaine or both or what have you. And I'm not knocking him for that. God bless if you're having fun doing all that stuff. So that's not the point of this. The point is in vino veritas. And you're about to see a little bit of that veritas, son. Take a look.
Rolling. Part of me, the selfish part, wishes I'd never met Donald Trump, wishes that I'd never met Roger Stone, because unlike previous things I'd done that were game-changing, those were just time-space continuum reflections of the third big change I was going to be involved in, and that was bringing Donald John Trump into Austin. I'm going to say it again. I said Austin into office. Because this is, you guys are actually really good questions. This is going to be a really good thing, but I'm going to say it again in a minute. Let's drink some of this Armani. I'll try to say it. Because it's the truth, and I'm just going to say it, that I wish I never would have fucking met Trump. I wish it never would have happened. And it's not that the attacks that I've been through. I'm so sick of fucking Donald Trump, man. God, I'm fucking sick of him. And I'm not doing this because it's like I'm kissing his fucking ass, you know? It's just like I'm sick of it. I'll do it in a minute.
Whoa. You know, listen, we covered, when Rush Limbaugh died, there was a recommended video that popped up in my feed that I took a look at. It was an old 60 Minutes interview from the early 1990s. And in that interview, Rush Limbaugh admitted something that I thought was earth-shattering. He basically said, like, yeah, I'm doing it for the money. I'm doing this for the money. And he said it in very clear terms. There was no ambiguity. It was not up in the air. There was no reading between the lines or interpretation that had to be done. He said it. He said, yeah, I'm doing it for the money. I want to charge confiscatory ad rates and hold an audience's attention as long as possible. I'm doing it for the money. Now, when he says that, what's the takeaway? The takeaway is very straightforward. You don't know what he believes and what he doesn't believe. Is he always saying stuff he believes? Well, no, he said he's doing it for the money. So he's not always saying stuff he believes. He's putting first and foremost holding the attention of the audience, shaking down the advertisers, and making money. So maybe he says some things that are way out of bounds and not what he actually believes because he's trying to keep those eyeballs on him and cares about the Benjamins. And I felt silly because, and maybe this is me being naive in general, but I'm one of the people who I always default to believing that people are saying what they really believe unless there's overwhelming evidence to the contrary. So in other words, I never assume maliciousness, lying, malintent. I assume that whatever somebody's telling me, they're talking in good faith and telling me what they believe in good faith. And that's my operating assumption unless and until it's, overturned by evidence or proof, okay? Now, some would say that's naive because I'm giving people the benefit of the doubt up front, always. And it was silly of me to look at Rush Limbaugh and think like, yeah, I bet this guy believes everything he's saying. No, turns out he doesn't. In fact, maybe he didn't believe most of it. We'll never know. So he was an actor. He was an entertainer, first and foremost. He wasn't an ideologue. He wasn't a conservative icon. He was an entertainer. Now we're watching this clip from Alex Jones. I'm getting those same vibes, dog. I mean, maybe it's a little more, there's a little more ambiguity here, but listen, he said the selfish part of me wishes I never met Donald Trump and Roger Stone. Then he said he felt responsible for basically helping bring Trump into office. And then he says, he basically breaks down. He's like, I wish I never would have fucking met Trump. I'm sick of him. I'm so sick of him. Well, why would you be sick of him if you're so on board for the MAGA agenda? You're so with Trumpism ideologically. How could you get sick of him? Why would you get sick of him? Maybe he's not really thinking first and foremost about Trumpism and the ideology and the policies that Trump's putting in place. Maybe it was sort of like trying to gain more fame, name recognition, money, status, whatever it may be. And listen, it's with Alex Jones, think about it. He was a big opponent of the Bush administration and their policies. Donald Trump, even though, he attacks the Bush legacy, he's just a continuation of the Bush policies. What did he actually do in office? Tax cuts for the rich, deregulation, and continued the wars. That's Bushism. That's a continuation of the George W. Bush legacy. So if Alex was opposed to George W. Bush and Trump is just continuing the Bush legacy and he says he likes Trump, how can you like Trump? Well, again, maybe it's not ideological. And maybe this is Alex Jones totally fed up and tired from constantly playing defense. Alex Jones was the conspiracy guy, but he fancied himself an outsider. With Trump, when Trump got in power, he no longer even portrayed himself as an outsider. With Trump in power, all of a sudden, a lot of his stuff became standard right-wing talk radio garbage, because if you're defending the president, the most powerful person on earth, you're by definition not really an outsider anymore. You're going to bat for the establishment. And so, I don't know. I mean, it would be interesting to get, to the extent that Alex Jones has coherent thoughts, it would be interesting to see what he believes about Trump's time in office, how he views himself in relation to it, because I can't imagine he likes the fact that he just became a cheerleader for the president, because then he loses his outsider credibility. But he probably viewed it as an opportunity to get more eyeballs on him, to make more money, to gain more status. But for whatever reason, he ain't too happy with it at the moment. I wish I never would have met Trump. I'm so sick of him. I would like for him to expound on that. Tell me more. Why? Why are you sick of him? Is it just that he dominated the news cycle for 4 years straight? Maybe more? Is it that he's overshadowing you in a way? Is it that now you feel responsible for every single fucking thing he's done? Where you feel like you're obligated to defend the stuff, even the stuff that you might not really believe? I don't know. I would be curious to hear more on that, but unfortunately it seemed like this clip was an aside for a much longer piece where he was trying to be more Alex Jones on message. But I'll tell you what, that's got to piss off at least half of his audience, right? Because his audience did become a lot of very, very aggressive pro-Trump people. So if they're hearing him say this, okay, who are you going to line up behind? Is it Alex Jones or is it Donald Trump? Battle of the colossal egos, and to see who breaks in what direction. But yeah, listen, it does look to me like there's a little bit of a, the sense of it was a calculation to line up behind Trump, and at times at least, he doesn't like the decision he made. At times, it looks like, there's a great example of it here. He says, I wish I never would have met Trump. I'm so sick of him. At times, it appears like he wished he never hitched his wagon to Trump. And that ship did sink. I mean, he lost in 2020. Maybe he runs again in 2024, but who knows? But I guess Alex sort of blew the outsider credibility to snuggle up to Trump, and now there are consequences for that. But anyway, also, he seems like he's just on some sort of substances, and I hope he gets help, and I hope he's okay.